to the level of how these Republican and Democratic lawmakers treat each other and how they are responding in the halls of their workplace and making comments that would likely get you fired anywhere else. But Chip Roy, a Republican in Texas, said, quote, people here have got to get thicker skin about representing the people and doing their job and not making everything personal on the floor of the House.
You know, that's Chip Roy. He's a conservative in Texas. I heard from a moderate Republican yesterday who said this is unacceptable. Marjorie Taylor Greene cannot be the face of our party. It's going to hurt us in swing districts. It's going to undermine our chances of winning back the majority. And said Kevin McCarthy needs to stop taking his moderates for granted. Yes, they're catering to some of these fringe members because they're the most vocal. They're willing to go on the record complaining about McCarthy. No coincidence, McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene had a phone call on Friday after she complained about his leadership.
Well, let's remind people what she said about Kevin McCarthy, because when you say, you know, they're going on the record criticizing him, openly saying maybe I won't support him if Republicans do take control of the House. This is what Marjorie Taylor Greene said about McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy has a problem in our conference. He doesn't have the full support to be speaker. He doesn't have the votes that are there because there's many of us that are very unhappy about the failure to hold Republicans accountable while conservatives like me, Paul Gosar, and many others just constantly take the abuse by the Democrats. I've demanded it. I want Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney kicked out of the GOP conference.
So she's giving a list of demands to McCarthy to secure her vote for Speaker. And she later said they talked. She likes what he has planned ahead. Do you know, what did that conversation look like?
I'm not sure, but he's doing all that he can to placate them. I think the interesting question, though, is if he wins the battle, right, but loses the war, right, this might help him engaging this group of Republicans, if Republicans take back the House in 2022, to become Speaker. But what does it say about the legacy of the Republican Party, right? If they're concerned about, you know, beyond just next year or the year after, but decades from now, that this is who they've become.
Right, because he's kind of, to a degree, and the New York Times had a good report on this recently, saying he's kind of just bringing the fringe, what used to be considered the fringe, now into the mainstream of the Republican Party. So even if he does become House Speaker, this is still going to be something he has to deal with as House Speaker, potentially. Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we're going to face a situation where they're going to have to get votes on something that Biden is going to have to sign. And do you think some of these people, some of these members are ever going to vote for anything that Biden is going to sign? This is if you have a speaker, Kevin McCarthy. And I'm sure Melanie can speak also to the fact that once we have that situation, are you going to see the reverse, which is that you're going to have a lot of pressure to censure a lot of Democrats and take them off their committees?
Oh, there will be, yes.
Exactly. Exactly. They have made very clear that they will retaliate if they do regain the majority. Of course, that's a year away. We'll have to wait to see how that plays out. Up next, we will talk about the Biden economy and whether he can convince Americans that it's stronger than they think it is.